Hey guys, how's it going? Kripp here. Today I have a Diablo 4 build guide for you guys. It's been a while, quite a long stretch since the last Diablo 4 season, but the time has come. Season of the Witchcraft is in, and there are some massive changes, both with the content that they're adding from the season, but most importantly, the minions are going to first be considered player damage, which means all of their tags are actually going to work, and the two builds that I'm going to highlight for the season are going to be minions as a result of that. I am going to have a guide up on Mobalytics for the Mendel Necromancer and a video to accompany it coming pretty soon. But in today's video, I want to give you guys what I will be personally playing in Season 7, Season of Witchcraft, and it is the Companion Druid. So this is not my footage. I did not get a chance to play on the PTR. This is King Shipton. I will link the video if you want to see kind of how this build generally plays. So this is a Nightmare Dungeon tier 100 in a not very optimized version of the build, but I wanted to point this out because there's a few things that I learned from this content creator in terms of how the new mechanics work or don't work in the upcoming patch. And even though my build is going to be a fair bit different than his when it comes to the actual mechanics of things, I wanted to show you guys some actual, decent footage rather than like a min-maxed whatever character using bugs. This is not, there's no bugs happening right now, and the main takeaways that I want you guys to see are how fast the cooldowns are resetting. So the wolf button here is on his square, which would normally be like right click. You can see that the moment he's pressing it, it's coming off cooldown almost instantaneously, and I will explain why that is. And he is using Petrify as his ultimate, which I believe is the best ultimate. I think we'll see a few versions of this build, and you can see his Petrify cooldown also going down very rapidly. So yes, there are some takeaways here, and there is some pretty big improvement for this particular build. So enter my version of the build. If you guys want to check out this build, it is going to be in the description below. It is, of course, on Mobalytics, home of the Kripp builds, but not just Diablo, of course. We have my Path of Exile 2 builds on Mobalytics, and we also have my Bazaar builds on Mobalytics. They've done an amazing job, and somehow we've ended up that every single game that I play is on Mobalytics now, so that's pretty awesome. Now, I do want to be upfront with you guys. There are still going to be some things that we're going to learn about this build. You might see me highlighting something in this video, and you might then go to the guide itself and notice that it's going to be a little bit different. I can't go back and, cut out a piece of this video, but I can go to the Mobalytics written form guide to change something if I've learned that it can be done a little bit better. So some people in the comments are always going to be, well, it's different than, the video guide that you made. Yes, sometimes it is. If you want the most updated one, it is going to be on Mobalytics, so just be aware of that. So to kind of cut it to the chase, because everything is player damage, the wolves are just going to do way more damage. In last season, the Summon Wolves Companion Druid was decent. I think we saw even like near tier 100 pit clears from the build, and there are some massively missing things from that build when compared to this season. First off, this season we have the Witchcraft powers, which are disproportionately good for minion builds, and particularly this minion build. We had changes to the rune systems that are now highly favorable for this build. And most importantly, the tags actually work for the purposes of scaling. So normally when you use the wolf, it has very few tags. It has companion and summoning. If you equip the Storm's Companion, which is pretty much a required unique for this build, but don't worry, the pants are the cheapest piece to actually gamble on the vendor, and you can get Storm's Companion through gambling very easily in the game, and I believe that with the 3 Witchcraft zones, you're going to have a pretty easy time acquiring obols for the sake of gambling, so it should be pretty easy to just get any old Storm's Companion. So Storm's Companion makes your Wolf Companions do lightning damage, which also makes them a Storm skill, which also makes them a Nature skill. So it adds very important scaling modifiers. And the aspect of the alpha, your wolf companions are now werewolf companions. This also gives them the werewolf tag, so you can scale them with werewolf. Now, in previous patches, you basically couldn't do any of that. They were werewolf skills, but only pressing the button was the werewolf when it came to the player. You couldn't scale their damage with werewolf damage. You could get werewolf attack speed, and in doing so, you'd be able to basically cast the button faster, which it had some benefits, but not a lot. And the Storm's Companion, giving them all those huge and relevant tags, well, it didn't do anything. Literally none of them were scalable. Even lightning damage was reportedly largely not working. So that is wild. And now we have all those things working, which means that instead of like one Paragon board being decent, all 5 Paragon boards give significant multipliers, significant additive scaling, way stronger mechanics, and everything actually works. So it is a huge season for Companion Druid. Now, I can't tell you guys that Companion Druid will overall outperform Mendel Necro. It might not, but I can tell you that Mendel Necro is going to be a good bit better than last season, but Companion Druid is going to be way better. It's just that the Mendel Necro was a better build last season, of course, is far more complete. So I don't really care. I haven't played Companion Druid in a while, and the new mechanics make it so Companion Druid is going to feel like an absolutely new beast. And part of the reason of that is how the wolves and how Petrify is being reset. So normally you'd have this thing. Lucky hit critical strikes have 25% chance to reset the cooldowns of your companion skills. Now, as you saw in King Shipton's video, they were resetting literally nonstop. The difference is that the player damage is the minion damage now. So the minions are critically striking to reset their own cooldown. And the best way to do this is to scale their attack speed and to scale the number of minions. But because we have Shepherd's aspect, we actually deal more damage per companion that we have. So scaling the number of minions both multiplies the damage and multiplies the frequency of pack leader and multiplies the frequency of nature magic skills, reducing the cooldown of ultimate by 2 seconds. That's how his Petrify was coming off cooldown so quickly. Also, in Season 7, ultimate skills have a new ability when they hit level 5. For Petrify, casting Petrify resets all your non-ultimate skill cooldowns. This is insane. Okay? Yes, you might get a little bit better value for like damage using like Cataclysm, but this I think will make the build function so much smoother because we go from scaling cooldown reduction in order to use our abilities to just having to lower the cooldown a little bit of Petrify. That's it. We just want to use Petrify every like 8 or 10 seconds, and basically our other cooldowns don't have cooldowns because you don't have to spam Blood Hell, you don't have to spam Debilitating Roar, you don't have to spam Cyclone Armor, you don't have to spam Earthen Bulwark. You just need to use those every few seconds to have their bonuses. But you do need to spam Wolves, which is being reset by Pack Leader, and you do want to cast Petrify occasionally to reset all your other cooldowns, but also to activate the Grow Witch Power. So after casting an ultimate skill, your servants, minions, and companions are empowered with dark magic, growing in size 45% more damage, and at level 11, at rank 11 on this thing, your servants, minions, and companions gain 100% critical strike chance while enlarged. They have guaranteed crits. And one of the downsides of Companion Druid in previous seasons was that it was just really hard to gear for it because you typically had to use a few uniques in key slots, and we'll go over that in a second. But also, it was just really hard to get the appropriate amount of critical strike chance and attack speed. And we have to keep in mind that this is ever more important because they had, where is it here? Envenom. So you and your companions gain 30%. This is like a multiplier damage against poison enemies. Well, in this season, it's going to be much easier to poison stuff. And also, with our Paragon board, we actually have a few other things that suddenly work. So we've always had the companion thing. The companion thing has always worked. Let me see here. Yes, this one. So critical strikes with werewolf skills restore 2 spirit and deal 50% damage multiplier. So this works with both the passive effect and the active effect of your wolves. So the payout for critically striking is larger than ever by a huge amount. We also have a few other things that actually work now. They improved heightened malice. You basically get the damage multiplier on a single target, which makes your single target even crazier. And the Thunderstruck, what I have seen other people say is that it's still bugged for the passive damage, but it is working for the active damage of the wolf skill. So that is another multiplier. Overall, it's just so many multipliers that are suddenly working. It's so much additive scaling that's suddenly working. And overall, the build just comes together to be really, really good. I have Air of Perdition here. You don't really need Air of Perdition. Normally, I'd also recommend the Harlequin Crest, but the cooldown reduction is not that important anymore. It's just that you want like either Air of Perdition or maybe Harlequin Crest, or you can use the I don't know, they call a mythic unique, the uber unique basically armor that gives you +1 to your passive skill levels. So that one's also really good. But you do need the spirit bond aspect of your companions cannot die. So you'd put that on a helmet and you'd use a legendary helmet instead of a unique helmet. The downside with doing that is to get a properly rolled legendary helmet, you want companion skill levels and wolf skill levels. And those are both very rare stats. It's not so much that like Air of Perdition is like the best thing ever. It might actually be. We'll go over that in a second. But it's more so that it's really, really hard to get that good of a legendary helmet because the affixes you want are just insanely rare. The aspects are typically what you'd expect out of a build like this, but there are a few things that might stand out. So in terms of the tempers, you can get Petrified Duration in terms of a utility, which is pretty good. I would get one of those, but I wouldn't go too crazy because the wolf attack speed is there. And for the other side, we also have werewolf attack speed, which is different, and it is a tier 2 attack speed. So it actually scales with the attack speed over the normal cap. So you can have 100% tier 2 attack speed, 100% tier 1 attack speed for a whole lot of attack speed. And the werewolf attack speed will help you cast your werewolf skills, which are going to be your wolf button and your bloodhowl. Bloodhowl is near instant, so it doesn't matter too much, but the wolf skill does have a little bit of a cast time. This build I do have with Erida's Inexorable Will. So this makes it so when you cast an ultimate skill, and again after 5 seconds, it has like the pull-in effect, and you deal damage to them. Now this damage is actually going to be pretty sizable because we're no longer really needing critical strike chance on our gear, and because we can get a vast amount of the attack speed from the tempers, we actually are going to effectively be willpower stacking for most of the greater affixes on the gear, and that is pretty good. You might deal some pretty significant damage from that ability because you'll just have a lot of willpower. The ring has a willpower percent modifier, and we also get this Friend of the Bog, which gives you 10% primary stat, 10% life, and you're always unhindered if you have 3 or more growth and decay witchcrafting powers, which this setup does, but I'll go into that in a second. Basically, lots of willpower stacking, and it should be pretty good. The Inexorable Will has just extremely good stats. Percent willpower is effectively a damage multiplier. Damage to close enemies scales the, I think it's called the Thunderstruck one. So you actually do need some damage to close. The lucky hit chance is very important because that's how you're resetting the cooldowns of your wolves and your Petrify, and your Petrify is resetting the cooldowns of all your other cooldowns. The Storm's Companion Pack Leader Spirit Boon Lucky Hit Chance is actually adding on to the base of the ability. So this is not Lucky Hit, which makes Lucky Hit on your gear pretty premium. You can even get Lucky Hit on your gloves. It's pretty good. Air Perdition has Lucky Hit, which is really good. And Erida's Inexorable Will has Lucky Hit also. This ring also has a massive ultimate skill cooldown reduction, which is very valuable to have. You can use a legendary ring instead of this one because there is a new legendary aspect that gives you 4 skill levels to your ultimate and 30% damage multiplier if you've used your ultimate in the last 8 seconds. I don't think it's going to be as good overall as an experience as using the Inexorable Will, but I do believe you will do higher single target damage with that legendary aspect. So why do I recommend the Inexorable Will? Well, the pull-in effect is pretty valuable. While there are a lot more area incidental damages happening in Companion Druid in the upcoming season, the best way to clear is still pretty much your wolves attacking. The wolves have very minimal area of effect components, but if enemy monsters are like perfectly stacked on the exact same pixel, when they auto attack, it will actually hit multiple monsters, even though their auto attack is not an area of effect ability. So it's kind of like compensating for the lack of area from your companions. That's why it's really good to have what's called a pixel pull, when you pull all the monsters on the screen to the same point. For the runes, I'm using a pretty early version of the Season 7 builder on Mobalytics, but they're going to be Igni with Seh and Nagu and Om. Now, these runes are new. So Igni basically stores a 25 offering bonus every 0.3 seconds. And when you cast a non-basic skill, it uses up all the stacks up to 500 offering. And the Seg gives you the Spirit Wolves, which are officially now companions, so they'll actually do pretty significant scaling. They will give you a damage multiplier for the Shepherd's aspect, and they will help you reset some cooldowns, I hope. I'm not 100% sure on that last one, but I hope so. Now, Nagu and Om is going to be a go-to for minions. Nagu is a new upcoming rune at Legendary, where if you maintain an active summon for 5 seconds, you gain 100 offering for each up to 6. So you can get 600 offering every 5 seconds if you have 6 summons. Now, because you have the Spirit Bond and your companions are immortal, well, you always have them, which means with this combo, Nagu plus Om, you get 600, offering every 5 seconds. And because the Barbarian's Warcry has a cooldown of 6, it's literally automatically going off cooldown. You don't have to do a single thing, which is amazing. The Warcry is also buffed for companions because it will now double dip. As companions are your damage, the effect of the Warcry will buff your damage, and it then will go on your minions to buff them a second time. There is no question that the Warcry is going to be the best rune for the character, and the Spirit Wolves the second best rune for the character. I would say that the runes are pretty much locked in. As for the Witchcraft powers, they're far from locked in. The Vengeful Spirit is really nice. It effectively gives you a damage immunity for, I think it's 10 seconds every 15 seconds, which, I mean, hard to go wrong with that. But most importantly, it's a summon, which means it does work for the Shepherd's aspect. And this has been tested on the PTR, and it does in fact work. You can use the frog. The frog on the PTR wasn't doing a lot of damage, but it's doing poison damage, and it's a ranged companion. So it's going to activate the poison damage requirements of your Paragon board and skills. Remember, Envenom is multiple crit damage to poison targets. It was also buffed from the PTR. It went from like 100% damage to 400% damage. So I don't know, it might actually do a decent amount of damage. I would guess not that much, but it's probably going to be pretty good. It's probably going to be second behind your wolves in damage. The aura specialization makes it so you can get 50% crit multi against enemies inside your aura effects, so you have to use an aura. The aura of siphoning is a good choice because it does a pulsing poison damage, which again activates your bonuses for an area of effect. While the frog does a good job, it's probably not going to be that much of an area of effect for poison, so it just helps you activate your bonuses. You also get constant healing, which is really nice. The Grow gives your minions 100% chance to crit, and again, a new damage multiplier. And Breath of the Coven, I haven't seen this one used very much, but it gives you 15% attack speed for 10 seconds when you deal damage or apply a crowd-controlling effect with any of the different, basically, types of Witchcraft powers. So Basically, the frog will deal damage with that. The Aura of Siphon will deal damage with poison, but those are both grow, so it only gives you 1 stack of those. And the Vengeful Spirit is a Psyche power, and it does damage as well. So basically, you activate 2 of them. It's a 30% attack speed. 30% attack speed is a lot. You have a lot of buttons to press because they're coming off cooldowns so frequently. So there is quite a lot of power unlocked in this. There might be another option to this. You can take out the Poison Frog Servant and use the basically any Eldritch power you want. I think they're all pretty low impact for this build. But if you have all 3 Witchcraft effects, at rank 8, gain 40% lucky hit chance while bonuses from Eldritch, Psyche, and Growth and Decay are active at once. And the lucky hit is going to help you reset your cooldowns even faster. It does mean that you'll lose the frog, and we don't exactly know how much damage the frog will do, and you'll always lose a little bit of damage multiplier because you're using the Shepherd's aspect. It gives you another companion for the bonus. So you're going to lose a little bit of damage, but you're going to get 15 attack speed and 40 lucky hit. Is that worth it? If it was just that, honestly, yes, but it's not just that. You would also have to find a different gem other than Friend of the Bog, because this one requires that you have 3 or more growth and decay powers, and there's literally not enough space to use 3 if you replace the frog with an Eldritch. So this is one of those things where I'm not 100% sure what the best setup is. We'll see. We also use Pointed Finger for 15% more damage from summons to, is it elites? Yeah, elites. And your non-unique growth and decay powers gain 35% potency. I'm pretty sure this is huge because it gives you more damage there, and it gives you more damage with the aura specialization. And I believe it'll just scale the damage of the frog up. So it's just pretty good in that case. Overall, that is the guide. In terms of the skill tree, it is going to be largely focused on just kind of moving. Actually, I can probably move those points there towards movement speed. Once you get your 100% crit active from the grow rank 11, you will have to change the build a little bit. Like the change I just made, you probably want the points in crit, but then when you get a level 11 grow to give your minions crit all the time, well, then you don't need crit chance anymore on your character, so you can put the points there. So there's going to be a little bit of a swap when you get that active. I don't have a point in Cyclone Armor because you want defensive skills rolled on your chest just to give you the base effect. Lots of points into Wolves. You actually do get the Poison Creeper because of the ultimate ability, One with Nature. So you get the passive effect of the Poison Creeper even if you have 0 skills in it. We're going to be largely shape-shifting, which is why we have Quick Shift. However, when you use the Wolf ability, it's used in human form, which is why we have the, where is it here, 15% damage multiplier in human form. Most of the time, you will not be in human form. However, when you actually, the moment you use your Wolf button, for those like milliseconds, you are actually in human form. So it's basically 15% more damage for your Wolf button, and maybe a little bit incidentally throughout. Now, the wolves do lightning damage, and the wolves are considered your damage. So all these like lightning and nature skills suddenly work. So that's pretty cool too. Lucky hit, deal lightning damage to enemies, has 20% chance to immobilize them for 3 seconds. This has been proccing non-stop on the PTR. It looks like the minions actually have very high values of lucky hit. So this is another source of power that we've unlocked in this update. Natural disaster, again, it wasn't working before, but now your storm skills. There's storm skill if you have the storm's companion pants. Nature magic skills deal damage to elites. Well, that tag is working once again. So a lot of really good stuff. I feel that this is going to play kind of like a brand new build, because not so much that it is a brand new build, but that all the mechanics are actually working finally. So that's really cool. I'm very excited to give it a try and get kind of like a fresh minion experience. For me, it's kind of like we get a new class in Season 7. It's actually playing a proper version of the Companion Druid. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the guide. And again, I will be updating it as I play on Mobalytics in the link below. Thanks for watching.